Israel's innocent Oopsie Poopsie medical massacre mistake. Notes from the edge of the narrative matrix. The Israeli military has changed its story about why its forces killed 15 medical workers and then buried them in their vehicles to hide the evidence. After their initial claim that the medical vehicles were approaching suspiciously without their emergency lights on was disproven by video evidence, they are now calling the whole thing a big mistake. Sure, who among us has not accidentally massacred 15 medical workers and buried them in their vehicles in a shallow grave from time to time? We're only human. Mistakes happen. Asked by the press about Israel's latest war crime scandal, White House National Security Council spokesman Brian Hughes blamed the whole thing on Hamas, saying, "Hamas uses ambulances and more broadly human shields for terrorism. President Trump understands the impossible situation this tactic creates for Israel and holds Hamas entirely responsible." Netanyahu could live stream himself eating a Palestinian baby and telling the camera, "I am eating this baby because I love genocide." And the next day, Trump's podium people would be responding to questions from the press by shrieking "Hamas" with their fingers in their ears. To be helpful, I have written some headlines the Western press can use to frame Israel executing 15 medical workers in the most positive light possible. 15 medical workers pause rescue duties following bullet-related incident. Rescue workers, vehicles found in shallow grave after perishing for mysterious and unknowable reasons. Israeli forces appear to be suspected of possibly accidentally firing on ambulance staff by mistake, perchance. Medical workers killed by IDF, says Hamas-affiliated United Nations. IDF assists medical workers in locating scene of latest massacre in Gaza. Jews in New York City feeling unsafe, unsupported in wake of latest Israel controversy. Israel to launch investigation into alleged IDF Oopsie Poopsie in Gaza. The universe is an ineffable mystery. Objectivity is a myth, and our finite primate brains were not evolved to comprehend any ultimate truths about absolute reality in its naked form. Gunshots heard in the Middle East. A flashing siren. Innocence no more. IDF hunted and slaughtered 15 healthcare workers and buried them in their vehicles to try to cover it up. Please don't fire me. That's what happened. I'm just trying to do my job. Not taking a position on Gaza is taking a position on Gaza. One you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. The mass media are giving so much more attention to this past weekend's anti-Trump protests than they ever gave the anti-genocide protests, because that is their job. It's their job to amplify opposition between the two mainstream parties while marginalizing those who oppose the crimes of both. Movements which keep people plugged into the two-party sock puppet show will always be amplified and encouraged, while movements which highlight the abusiveness of the U.S. empire regardless of who happens to be in office will always be ignored at best and smeared at worst. That's why we've seen so much attention go into Trumpism and anti-Trumpism, while genuine anti-war movements struggle to get off the ground, and while pro-Palestine demonstrators are slandered as anti-Semitic terrorist supporters. As long as people can be herded into supporting either of the two mainstream parties against the other, they are fully plugged in to the artificially manufactured worldview which protects the interests of oligarchy and empire. When people draw attention to the tyranny and abuse of the U.S. empire itself without getting drawn into the two-handed puppet show of party politics, they unplug their minds from this worldview the propagandists have worked so hard to plug them into. As long as enough people are screaming Trump or not Trump, the empire's crimes can continue unimpeded. Only when people stop clapping along with the puppet show and start fighting against the empire itself will there be real change in a positive direction. This means opposing the abuses that are advanced by both parties, like war, genocide, militarism, imperialism, capitalism, Zionism, and authoritarianism. Until then, their political energy will keep being steered in directions which pose no threat to the powerful, like we are seeing with these anti-Trump protests. Been seeing a lot of anti-war Trump supporters finally starting to admit that they were duped and beginning to turn against him. I won't join the voices slamming them for supporting Trump in the first place. I'll only say welcome aboard and congrats on being better people than everyone else who voted for Trump.